Okay, today I'm going to do something I almost never do. Well, two things actually. First, I'm going to admit that I might have been wrong about something. And second, I'm going to design a knife specifically around a certain type of steel. I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I might have been wrong about CPM MagnaCut. Generally, I do not agree with chasing uber steels. I hate trying to catch up and play catch up, or, grasp onto the next big thing that's come along in the knife industry, the knife steel industry, because it happens a lot. It happens all the stinking time. Somebody comes up with something that is going to blow everything else out of the water, and it's rarely ever the case. But after further investigation and a little more consideration and thought, I feel like I might have underestimated the uniqueness of CPM MagnaCut. So today, what I'm going to do in this video is design a knife specifically for and around that steel and its conception of use. What does that mean? Well, CPM MagnaCut offers some unique characteristics that are very, very specifically geared towards hard use, consistent heavy use, and toughness. To me, what category fits that best is the bushcraft category. Yes, you could pigeonhole it into combat knives and stuff like yes, it could work great for like a combat knife, field knife, survival knife type of thing, but I'm talking about a bushcraft knife. A knife that is like an all-arounder, an all-arounder for all-around tasks in the field. Meaning you need something that can cut really, really well, that is pretty worry-free when it comes to maintenance, so stainless characteristics, has a useful blade size, is not overly built, can take a thinner cross-section for fine work and detail work like that, but you could also baton with it. You could also, smack it around and put some heavy use to it. Really, it's got to be useful in most of those contexts. So, to me, that's what a bushcraft knife really kind of entails, is stuff that you would just, it's lightweight, right? Lighter weight, smaller size, not going to be huge. No, it's not a 10-inch bladed knife. It's not a 6-inch bladed combat knife or field knife, that kind of thing. It's not going to be super stabby, like a long, thinner blade, but a robust blade, but smaller in size, that could be useful for just about anything you need to use in the camp. Hunting, you can take it on hunting trips, take it on backpacking trips, take it to camp and fishing trips, that kind of thing. Just like an all-arounder, something you would just grab and go for it. Similar to the Scandinavian style of knives, like the Puukko and the Falniven stuff. Just about a lot of things that Falniven puts out are really fantastic knives. So that's what I'm going to design, is something along those lines, and it's a stretch for me to do so because I don't generally go this specific with a design and steel. My aversion to CPM MagnaCut in the past has been, I have used it. I've used it on a couple folding knives and some smaller fixed blades. And my aversion to it are mostly pretentious. I'm going to be honest. Most of my aversions to it are pretentious. Stubbornness, because I just don't like changing steels or, having to chase the next heat treat on a new uber steel. But the heat treat was actually pretty easy compared to what I normally do with RWL34. It was almost identical, pretty easy. So that's not really a valid reason to avoid it. Really, it comes down to the finish. I hate finishing steels like this, like CPM 3V and MagnaCut. Probably the two worst steels to try to finish out there as possible after they're heat treated, because they are so tough. So that kind of draws me to a different point in changing my process a little bit for how I do this knife. Like, I'm actually going to take this one a lot further before heat treating, a lot closer to finish than I normally would, and I'm not going to put as high a finish on it as I normally would either. I'm not going to polish it. I'm not going to do a high satin hand finish or anything like that. Belt ground, slap it, wrap it, and pack it. That's what we're doing. Just something bushcrafty, something that you don't have to worry about the fuss of the finish while you're using it. It's just a purely simple using knife. So that's what we're going to do. First though, what is CPM MagnaCut? Alright, so what is CPM MagnaCut? Well, for the best description and the best, most accurate information, I would go to knifesteelnerds.com. CPM MagnaCut was conceived by a young man named Laren Thomas, a metallurgist in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His father, Devin Thomas, is a mastersmith, a master bladesmith, metallurgist. They all are, knife maker, that kind of thing. So Laren Thomas has a PhD in metallurgy and is pretty much the wizard behind the curtain when it comes to metallurgy and steels. He's a very knowledgeable young man with a lot of experience, and a father who has a lot of experience as well. So they live and breathe this stuff. Bottom line, they live and breathe this stuff. So he developed CPM MagnaCut as an upgrade to some of the crucible lines of steels out there, or an enhancement to some of the crucible type steels out there, like S30V and stuff like that. So it's just it's reinventing the wheel, or building a better mousetrap at the end of the day. Right now I believe the steel is being made by Crucible, CPM Crucible, as part of their CPM line, and the overall intent, from what you can read from the article and the conception of this and his creation of this steel, was to just make a better mousetrap that works, cuts, lasts better, is tougher, and has stainless characteristics as well. Okay, so with a higher hardness range. It says here it can reach 64 Rockwell C. And still be stain resistant, because a lot of times when you want tougher steels, you need less stainless characteristics. You know, the elements that make a steel stainless tend to make them more brittle and less hard. You know, like you can't get as high of hardness in a Rockwell scale. They tend to be a little more brittle and, you know, kind of degrade in some of their characteristics given or when compared to a high carbon steel, where high carbon steels can get a little harder in a lot of instances and be a little tougher. So because they don't have stuff like chromium, vanadium, and that kind of stuff in them. So he set out to create a steel that was capable of extremely fine microstructure, stainless characteristics, meaning stain resistant up to a certain point, but has the toughness, edge retention, and high hardness desirable in a lot of heavy use scenarios where you still want a fine and keen edge. MagnaCut, invented in 2021. Carbon, 1.15%. Chromium, 10.7%, so it falls right in that tool steel range. Molybdenum, MO, 2%. Vanadium, 4%. Niobium, 2%. Nitrogen, 0.2%. And that's about it. Okay, what it boils down to is this. All those fancy words and elements and stuff on the periodic table that you could look up and find out what they actually are, and I don't really know because I don't care. I just want them to work. It's more refined of a grain structure, more uniform of a grain structure, higher hardness, stainless characteristics, higher toughness, and the ability to take and hold an excellent and sharp, creamy edge. There are other steels out there that do this already. There really are. But they may not do it as well, or as long, or under as hard of conditions. So that's the beauty of CPM MagnaCut. Well, let's see how it actually stacks up. Let's just break it down like this. It really is about finding balance. See this right here? These are like examples of stainless and non-stainless steels, more or less. And where they fall in the useful characteristics category. They're either high or low. High, low. There's like a big divide in most categories of use in the qualities in the steel versus toughness versus sharpness versus blah, 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 all these other factors. CPM MagnaCut was designed to fall right here. Right in the middle, to be that happy middle spot in both categories that fills just about all roles well. Right? That's the intent of design behind the steel. My biggest complaint is there was no consideration given for how well it would polish, how easily it would polish, because it looks like garbage when you polish it. It's like a dumpster fire. It's bad. But anyway, that's just me. Enough of the hibbity-bibbity. Let's just get to designing. This is going to be a bushcraft knife. So I'm going to use so this last knife for the last video, for our hunter series. This is a hunting knife, okay? Smaller, lighter weight, whatever, made for more, you know, hunting, yada yada. It's just kind of a basic knife, just simplicity's sake. So I'm going to use that as a starting point though for this bushcraft knife. But I'm going to make it longer, because I think for me personally, the bushcraft knife is something a little bit longer than that, maybe say 9 inches. And good 4 inches of blade. That makes us, that's about an 8.5 inch knife. Let's start with that. 8.5 inches is where we'll start. I might actually do a clip point on this one. Clip points have some benefits. And they're stylized, they look good. For like a Bowie-esque throwback, I guess you could say. Definitely want to integrate a guard of some kind. Let's get the blade. Let's get the blade going first. Just because it's a bushcraft knife doesn't mean it can't be stylish. Yeah, that's a little fatter than my patch knife so far as the handle goes, but that's kind of the point. This is a bushcraft knife, so leverage is important. Let's give it some meat and taters for some leverage. Simple handle though. We're not going to do a finger groove. We're going to do a simple handle. Integrated guard, because it's just a little stronger that way and more simplified that way. How do we feel about that? I don't know. Don't know yet. Back end still seems a little fat. Let's put a little more rounding in that. Make it a little more palm friendly. Okay, this is where we ended up. 8 3/4 inch overall length. It's starting to look a lot like a Val Niven knife, which, you know, Val Niven kind of nailed down the iconic bushcraft design years and years ago, so similar to that in style. And now it's time to head on over to the Baron and order some steel, because I don't have any left. You know, it's really embarrassing when your battery dies right in the middle of filming. Anyway, we're going with 1.5 inches wide, 24 inches long, and let's go with about, I hate to get too thick with this stuff. I'm gonna go with 5/32 of an inch. Let's just do that. Keep it simple. Okay, finishing thickness. We're gonna put it in the 5/32 range, so that means we need to get the 0.188 dimensioned steel, which is hot rolled. Let's add that to cart. There we go. Starting out with 3/16 inch thick steel, so finishing at around 5/32, theoretically, according to this. I don't know, they have some weird thickness range and finishing thickness thing going on their website right now. I'm not really sure what that's about, but anyway, let's punch out. God, this stuff's expensive. That's another reason I don't like it. It's expensive. It's more expensive than my usual. Or it's as expensive as my usual, but it doesn't finish as well. Okay, this is not for you. Very nice. The steel is on the way. Thank you for joining me again. I'm going to make this knife in a future video once the steel gets here, but yeah, for now, I'm doing something I normally don't do. Designing a knife around steel. It's very odd for me. Thank you for joining me again. Stay tuned for the next video coming up in our making series, how to make knives. I'm going to make knives. One of these two. I might start with this one since this is the one I introduced in the last video, and just work through that because some people are going to be downloading and working through this with me. So, or I might just jump right into this one. I haven't decided yet. I might make both of them. I might make them both out of MagnaCut. Honestly, now that I got a bar of it on the way, so I think both of them would work really well in MagnaCut. I can't believe I'm saying it. What's the world coming to?